I think we should start this hour of the program just a bit of unpacking from the weekend in the Rugby League pre-season challenge. And, of course, we had the All-Stars as well, Brandy, which you worked on in the Fox League coverage. I went out and saw the Bulldogs firsthand last Thursday night, was at the Dragons game, and I've basically taken in every other match. I mean, it's very hard. You're walking around. I probably did more watching on my phone than I've ever done in my life. So wherever I was, the phone's there with the Rugby League on, boom, when you're sitting at dinner, the whole thing there. We'll go one for one on the takeouts. Now,
okay.
From the Warriors-Tigers game, and I know the Warriors lost, but I'm going to say the Warriors' depth, I'm contemplating putting them in as a top four side this year, the Warriors, cementing what they did last year. I think they have depth. I think they've got some good young talent. And the thing I like about it, I think they're a bit tougher. To me, they defend. I know they were playing the Tigers, but they only had 12 men. I thought they defended some really good periods there yesterday. I think the Warriors have depth now. I think it won't be a false dawn last year, Brandy. I think they can build on what they did last year and actually be better. So there's my first takeout. Warriors to improve on last year.
Mm-hmm. I read so much about the Bulldogs over the off season. I read about Gus and what he's been doing with the juniors, and caught up even via my wife's social media to just follow Gus and his chat about what he's doing with this club. Now, when I watched the Bulldogs on Thursday night, and I didn't get a chance because Friday is my RDO, I didn't get a chance to say how impressive I thought the Dogs were. There's some selection headaches for Cameron Ciraldo with who he plays in the halves, but the youngsters, and I know this is a picture to the future, but boy, they were impressive. A whole host of them: Joseph O'Neill, Joash Papali, who I watched a fair bit of play SG ball last year. They're very good, and all the chat about the juniors and what Gus has been doing, well, was confirmed on Thursday night because that was my takeout.
Good takeout. Now, I'll give you one from South Sydney Dragons. South Sydney front row rotation. Thomas Burgess is there, Tavita Totola. Sean Kepi looks like a really good signing. He looks really fit.
Boy.
And size. I mean, he has size. And then you're throwing Davey Moali off the bench. Look, much improved. Has obviously had another really good off-season. Already played 31 NRL games. They have a very good front row rotation, and the key to South Sydney's best football is just, bang, bang, bang. Damien Cook running off, quick play the balls where they, get over the advantage line. Cody Walker steps in, does his thing, and Latrell Mitchell. I mean, it's as simple as that, South Sydney's plan. So I looked at their front row rotation, really good foundation for South Sydney's success, and I had a question mark on them. So then you throw a Jack White into the mix as well. Rabbitohs, you would think, bounce back from a very disappointing last year.
I would think so too. I'm with you on that. And Tavita Totola had a tough year injury-wise, missed a fair bit of footy. Sean Kepi, I agree with you, is a terrific buy. I think he's very big, he's mobile. My other takeout, Andrew, was surrounding the Broncos, who have lost a host of players, and big names too. Flegler, and also Herbie Farnworth moving on. Brendan Piakura. Now, they parted ways with Capewell late in the off-season.
Yep.
So Kurt Capewell moved to the Warriors. Brendan Piakura will be a star in the back row for the Broncos this year. I thought he was outstanding. And Selwyn Cobbo. So the left side, which includes Ezra Mam, Selwyn Cobbo at centre, whether it's Jesse Arthur or Corey Oates on the wing, Brendan Piakura in the back row with Reece Walsh involved, they will be a handful. And I think that left edge of the Broncos will be talked about for most of the season as being very productive.
I'll double down on that with my third takeout from the weekend, and I just wrote down Brisbane star quality. I think there are stars that will be, provided they continue to work hard, and I've got no reason to think they won't. I don't think there'll be complacency. I think they'll rip a second one in a few sides this year, Brisbane, when they have their on game. So Brisbane star quality, reinforced by a very first glimpse at them for this year.
Yep. Now, confirmed, not much over a week of trials. Rethink maybe about what I was thinking. Newcastle had a big win over the Sharks, but the Sharks were under strength compared to what the Knights were, even though they had a number of stars out. Adam O'Brien's got some selection headaches. Cooper Cronk came out before the game and said, I'd have Jack Cogger at half, not Jackson Hastings. I'm off the back of what I saw, not that I needed confirming to know that Jack Cogger is a first grader, a starting first grader. I don't know whether it's Jackson Hastings or Tyson Gamble that makes way for Jack Cogger. I'm not sure which is the best combination. I don't know if Adam O'Brien would know which is the best combination, but he's got some he's got some decisions to make, and he's also got some decisions to make around the 9 with Jaden Brayley, Phoenix Crossland, Riley Jones, who was very good. So they've got options. He's best 13. I'm unsure of at the moment.
Question, that's our 3 takeouts from the weekend, but Hugh from Carringbar on the text says, good morning, boys. What do you think of the Raiders' performance on the weekend? Even though it was against an understrength Parramatta side, we showcase a lot of young talent coming through. I think that can be said too. There's some players there that outside of the Raiders you know very little about. And this is where it's so hard to gauge, because when you've got new young players coming in and they look okay, but they're against other new young players, how are they going to go against established first graders? That's where it's very hard to gauge. So,
yep.
Good signs, but I'm going to keep a powder dry on the Canberra Raiders, because I don't have them in my 8, but there was some signs of some reasonable depth there.
Just on the fullback, and that was one of the games. I was in Gosford for the Newcastle Sharks Roosters Manly game. I was in the car driving back to back home, so I've seen the tries scored in the Eels Raiders game. Is it Chevy Stewart, the fullback, the young fullback?
Yep.
Do we know? Have we got any mail on how he went over the?
Chevy. No. It figured. I think he got a try as well. He's and very much in the mix to start. He could be there right from round 1. So a little appraisal of the Raiders. Michelle Bishop's going to have more news on Dominic Young. That's probably the big injury news out of the weekend, the seriousness of the neck injury. So we'll talk about that with Michelle Bishop on the program. In fact, is Michelle there now?